developing a researcher profile and managing your researcher environment, getting started, and tips for success. Are you publishing or presenting research in your discipline? Do you want to make the most of the impact of your research? Develop an online researcher profile and make your research more discoverable by researchers globally. Online tools such as ORCID, ResearchGate, Web of Science, and Google Scholar citations can be useful for establishing a successful online academic profile. They can increase the impact of your research, ensure credit for your work, and streamline the publishing and grant funding process. The goal of this video is to give you an introduction to what a researcher profile is, discuss the importance of developing a profile as a new researcher, share tips regarding maintenance of your profiles and raising visibility. Some of the more widely used tools and websites will be discussed. One of the most important factors in getting your work noticed, read, and cited is accessibility. You need to make it easy for others to find your work. One way to make your research easy to find is to create researcher profiles and start to gather your research in one place. And in an increasingly competitive research and scholarship environment, how do you distinguish yourself from someone? If your institutional affiliation and/or your contact information changes, how is the link between you and your scholarly work maintained? The solution is creating a researcher profile. A profile pulls all research together in one place, mitigating common problems that often arise in searching. So why is this important? Online profiles identify you and link you to your work. They ensure credit for your research. They allow you to increase the citations and impact of your research, and they help you build your professional reputation. So let's take a look at this example, a search for Ana Garcia. So when you just search Google for Ana Garcia, you get multiple results. Some of these may or may not be who you're looking for. So if you're looking for Ana Garcia related to anthropology, then it starts to get a little bit more detailed. But if this person had a researcher profile, then her information would start popping up more to the top. This is another example of a research profile here at Texas State University, and this is part of our system that we use for faculty. It's important to have a researcher profile because it's a unique identifier. Think of it as a DOI for you. It pulls all of the different ways you may have published in the past, all under one entry. Many of the profiles come either in a unique number, like the ORCID ID, or in a unique URL based on the tool you use. A few things to consider when creating and what should you look for in a researcher profile tool. Will the profile be easy to maintain? Is it widely used? Are my colleagues and peers using the tool? What about the metrics to show impact? Will it allow me to upload copies of my work? Just some of the things that you want to ask yourself when you're creating a researcher profile. Things to consider, tips to remember, is that these are professional profiles. They're meant for networking. They are intended to showcase your research, and they do require frequent updating. So a tip here is to create 1 to 3 and maintain those. So there are many options when creating and choosing a researcher profile tool. Here are some of the ones that we are going to discuss today. ORCID is the Open Researcher and Contributor ID Registry. It allows researchers to create a profile that includes publications, grants, and research publications. You maintain privacy controls of all parts of your profile. Include your ORCID ID on your homepage when you submit applications, apply for grants, include them in your CV. You can even include them in your email address signature. Some of the features is ORCID assigns a 16-digit number to identify you. It transitions from institution to institution. You can automatically search and import previous research, published research. It also allows you to streamline publication and funding submissions, and more grant funding agencies are requiring an ORCID ID. At least over 3,000 journals collect ORCID IDs, and ORCID will reliably connect you with your work. A few things to include when setting up your ORCID: include any name variations, any other identifiers that you may already have. You want to include your institutional and personal email, and you can set the personal email to private. While you have the option to make your ORCID ID, public or not, you do want to choose the publicly visible, and you can control those settings when you're setting up your account. Importing and maintaining is pretty easy. You can use the Crossref tool, which will actually import your previously published articles or publications, or you can add them manually. This is an example of how the ORCID IDs work within the publishing and research networking. The next tool we're going to talk about is Google Scholar Citations. Some of the key features in the Google Scholar Citations is it allows you to track citation metrics. It will allow you to follow collaborators and colleagues. It does increase the discoverability of your work. And what's good about Google Scholar is it searches across the disciplines and many sources. It gives you the option to save your research in My Library. You can also view who is citing your research. And because it's Google, your research is shared widely. Here's an example of a faculty profile in Google Scholar Citations. So all of the research is listed. One column shows the cited by. It also has her research interests and her H-index score. Things that you want to include: you want to verify your Texas State email. You can add contributors or co-authors. You can include the keywords about your research. You must establish a Google account in order to create a citations account. And all of the information is public, except for maybe your personal info. It's fairly easy to import and maintain. You can set it to automatically update, or you can set it to review and confirm updates, and this is based on Google's web crawling. Our recommendation is that you set it to review and confirm, just to make sure that what Google is adding as your research truly is your research. The next tool is the Web of Science Researcher ID. By using the My Researcher ID feature in the Web of Science, researchers are assigned an individual ID number that stays with them, regardless of institutional affiliation, allowing their research to be more easily tracked. Once your researcher ID is created, your publications listed in the Web of Science database are added to your profile. Things to keep in mind: features of the Web of Science is that it's an online subscription-based. Citation metrics are per year, average, total, and the H-index. It is integrated with ORCID. Things to consider with the Researcher ID is that it's automatically associated if you've published in a Web of Science journal. And it's only used by Clarivate Analytics or Research Web of Science. And so it's based on a limited number of publications. Fairly easy to import and maintain. You really only need to update your personal information when needed. A similar tool is the Scopus Author ID. Scopus Author Identifier distinguishes between similar names by assigning each author in Scopus a unique number and grouping together all of the documents written by that author. Again, it's system generated. It is based on journals that are indexed in Scopus. It does exchange data with ORCID, but it's used by Scopus only, and it's based on a limited number of publications. Once again, you would only update your personal information when needed by creating an account. Pivot is a funding and collaborator discovery database. And so if you are seeking funding opportunities, you would create a Pivot profile. And this way you can go in and share and track your funding. You can update your profile with research interests to receive alerts when there is a new funding opportunity available. And it allows you to network and identify collaborators. The next few tools that we're going to talk about are sometimes referred to as academic social media tools. They're more networking in nature. So the first one is ResearchGate, and it's an interdisciplinary collaboration. It does allow you to upload your research and kind of keep up with citation counts. You can often request the full text feature of an article, so you're contacting the author directly. It's often referred to as Facebook for researchers. Academia.edu has been around for quite a few number of years. It is, again, interdisciplinary in collaboration. Helps you keep up with usage counts, downloads and views of your research that you've uploaded. It also includes a job board, posting and reviewing academic openings. And this is a favorite tool for graduate students, but it's also a networking tool for all researchers. So now that we've kind of gone through a few of the most widely used researcher tools, if you follow the link to the research guide, Developing a Researcher Profile, you can get step-by-step instructions on setting up your profiles, and you can also get more information for each of the tools.